how do we support both sides? How do we support
That's good.
our black boys? How do we support our teachers? This is what it's all about. I fundamentally believe teachers who show up to teach every single day our children, their fundamental goal and desire is to teach our children. Somewhere is a disconnect.
Yeah.
Somewhere there's a disconnect.
Let's talk about what you got going on. I promise you. Bro, I ain't gonna call the police or nothing. But you gotta talk to me, all right? Can't do it like this.
Before you call the police, what else can be done?
I'm Dev.
DP.
Welcome to
Building Bridges with Black Men.
So we got an article here on, especially this associates with black boys being in the school system. And this is timely because we got school either started just recently or it's about to start, depending on what time we get this episode out. So I've worked in the school system, in and out, in the educational realm, and been involved with students, all ethnicities. And then BP, you have sons currently, right? In school.
Yes, I got kids currently in school, but yes, definitely two boys going to middle school next year. So, this article is interesting.
And of course, we both have been boys before.
Boys to men, yes. Boys to men,
yeah.
yes.
I'm sure you probably got more trouble than I did. I was a scholar.
Yeah. We both had dads and moms that said, "Don't have me come up to that school while I'm at work." Shout out to all those kids whose parents said that. And for the most part, they may have only had to come up there once and one time only. So speaks to the good job our parents did. But yes, I know what that's like.
Yeah, we got this in the K12drive.com. They have an article here that came out in June 26 this year. A study on small number of teachers double racial discipline gap. Talking about the gap in, I think the studies mostly was in California.
Yeah.
The gap in the disciplinary or referrals, write-ups of black children versus white Hispanic. So if you want to start with it.
A study of one large and diverse California school district found about 1.7% of teachers are responsible for 34.8% of all disciplinary office referrals, according to a paper published in Educational Research, a peer-reviewed journal of the American Educational Research Association. The research found that 5% of teachers who issue the highest rates of office referrals made an average of about 48 office discipline referrals per year, or around one every 4 school days. Good Lord, anybody teaching? That was several times higher than the rate of colleagues who issued an average of less than one referral every 2 months of the school year. So my job as a teacher is to go and teach, but I'm spending a lot more time sending out referrals.
Yeah.
Come on, students, we got to support our teachers. I need for you to go to school and just do what you're supposed to, but I digress. The extensive use of referrals by a small percentage of teachers doubled discipline gaps between black and white students and Hispanic and white students, providing targeted supports and interventionists to teachers who issue high rates of referrals might help reduce racial discipline gaps, the study's authors said. That's a lot of referrals.
And it's saying too, right, that there's 5% of teachers who are doing all these referrals.
Yes.
So it's saying an issue of something about there's a group of teachers. I don't know if this goes into it further on why or who this smaller number is, who's doing all these referrals, but that's something we need to look into.
Right. It goes further down. It says, in the district study, black students made up 7% of total enrolled students and 12% of students in top referrers classrooms. However, they represented nearly 22% of all referred students and 27% of students given office referrals by teachers issuing the highest rates of referrals. Wow.
Wow. So there's something about that small group of teachers who are writing up Black children. Now, of course, the racist thing to say would be, well, it's y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all just misbehaving.
Right.
We
Right.
can go way back to slavery on that.
Yeah. You misbehaving back then, you misbehaving now.
Yeah. So we got, we got to put the whip on it.
Yeah. Right. You're messing up. Here we go. Instead of the whip, now they're bringing out the pen and the pad, talking about a referral pad. Go to the principal's office.
Yeah.
But let's. How do we support both sides? How do we support
That's good.
our Black boys? How do we support our teachers? This is what it's all about. I fundamentally believe parents who send their children off to school have the expectation for their children to learn.
Yeah.
And I fundamentally believe teachers who show up to teach every single day our children, their fundamental goal and desire is to teach our children. Somewhere is a disconnect.
Yeah.
Somewhere there's a disconnect. So we who have children who are in school, we need to do our part. Again, same instructions we received, turned out pretty well for us. Go to school and just learn. Go to school and be respectful and do your job in the classroom. But the teacher's responsibility, I would assume, you can speak better to this, is to have a little bit of grace and understanding. One, knowing your audience. You got 22 students in class, got to know all 22.
Yeah.
It'd be great if you knew personalities, interests, what have you. We're not talking about all that anyway. Know your audience. If you know one kid who has always been somewhat defiant, then maybe he's part of this referral group we're talking about. But if you have a kid who was always in class, who's a good kid, and on this day, he was being defiant and being in trouble, but you can speak to and can attest that he's always been a good student, I may have to give him a little bit more grace instead of initially, oh, you messed up, I'm sending you a referral. So it's curious to know when we're talking about these referrals of 7%, who these children were. I think that's the piece sometimes the article may not have shared. We know the color because the article addressed the color, but we don't know in what context who these kids were.
Yeah, Greg, like we always talk about, Black people are not homogeneous. It's not all Black children are the same.
That's right.
We don't have the economic stand of these people or
right.
Their overall teachers with more than 3 years of experience. So that has an impact, of course, less likely to make office referrals or to be top referrer. Then later on, but at the middle school level, more teaching experience did not reduce a teacher's likelihood of being a referrer, until they had at least 11 years of experience. So it's different on how long it was, but we do see with that experience, they have lesser referrals. That they write. So what we can assume that what's going on is that they're learning something.
Yes.
Something happens, and they say either I'm going to exit or I'm going to start writing more referrals.
But as we laugh, either way, I'm going to win. Think about it. I'm going to win because I'm leaving, or I'm going to get you out of my classroom. So
as far as the trying to learn something and trying to do the struggle. To make this work, it's kind. It kind of reminds me like what happens with marriages or relationships. Right? There's a point where you say, we're going to fight. With this fight, you're going to fight through it. Or you say, are we done?
We're going to fight in the courtroom.
So the same thing, it seems like what happens with these teachers.
That's a good point.
And saying like with 3 years or 11 years, they either decide to stay and find out what they need to find out to make things work, or they leave.
But you know what's interesting as we look at this article is like when you say they either, as I said, they're gonna win either way. They're they're gonna leave, or they're gonna start writing the referrals.
Yeah.
But what about the piece about the support that they
Mm.
should be getting, or would be ideal in a school where they feel like this is difficult? Like I'm really, I think you mentioned before, it's like, look, if I need assistance, I usually just call on someone right next to me, maybe a more seasoned teacher, help me. Is that being offered up? I want to believe it is. I mean, I want to believe that. I want to always look at the cup half full. But if that's not being offered up, I can see why teachers are like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Why do I have to sit here and deal with this? If I got 20 students and let's say 17 want to learn, but I got 3 that I'm constantly having to send out the classroom, but I'm not getting support. I love you, 17, but I'm out. I can't do this.
Yeah. And like the whole reason we're doing this, even this podcast, is to build bridges.
Right.
Maybe there's somewhere where these teachers, let's say you're a young teacher just coming in, you aren't raised or around Black youth. You're at a school that's mainly Black Hispanic, and you haven't learned how to build that bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And so your initial idea is, well, if there's a misbehaving child, get the authority.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, whether that's escalated into a resource officer, to a principal, and the highest issue, getting the officer, actual police officer that might be at the school.
Yeah. Think about this too, as you're talking, think about it. So let's say, like you said, a new teacher comes out of college, 1 of you 2 years out of college. You've left an environment where there's critical thinking going on, using the halls of a university.
Yeah.
Learning with other students about how to be great educators. Okay.
Yeah.
You do a year at an internship at a school.
Yeah.
I didn't even say urban school.
Just
but
a
you
school,
get your first job at a middle school in an urban community. If they ain't teaching you in them halls of college how to deal with children of color, what makes you think you're going to be successful?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't be successful, but hey, where's that class in college? Like, who's teaching me that? And that's the part I said earlier. When you see a new teacher, come into an environment, what would it be like? And again, not saying schools across the country don't do that. Hey, I need for you to sit with this new student. She's going to shadow you. You're going to be her mentor.
Yeah.
Would referrals go down? I don't know. But I guarantee, I would like to believe that a seasoned teacher would say, look, I had him, or I know about this kid. I'm not saying you're going to give him a pass every single time, but the first time he says a cuss word, you might not necessarily feel it's necessary to kick him out.
Yeah.
We're not condoning, inappropriate behavior, but at least you're getting some sort of insight as far as what to expect about the school, what to expect about this classroom, more particularly, possibly what to expect about these children.
Yeah.
Because the article is about, in regards to Black boys. So if you had no experience working with Black youth,
you don't know. You haven't had those skills of building those bridges.
Yeah, you don't have those tools around the tool belt.
Yeah.
Them tools aren't around your tool belt. Everything's not gonna call for a hammer.
Yeah.
Everything ain't called for a hammer, but you like, hammer, this needs a hammer. And the hammer in this situation is I'm
when that moment happens when he disbehaves or does something disrespectful, that's the moment you're like, well, what I do?
Yeah.
And now, if you haven't encountered that before, you haven't experienced it before, you don't, like I said, you don't have the tool. You're trying to figure out what to do on the spot.
Right.
If you don't know how to interact in that cultural situation, you just revert to what you know, which is call the police.
Yeah.
Call the authorities.
Call the authority.
In
this situation, if you're talking about a school situation, call authorities, I'm calling the principal.
Yeah.
I'm going to call the SRO. I'm going to call somebody who's going to eliminate the threat, do everything possible so I don't, quote unquote, have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Again, as we said earlier, the deal with the part is the safety. Everybody needs to be safe, from physically safe, emotional safety. That's across the board. That should be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But if those issues are not there, sometimes I believe you got to show a little bit of grace and say, let me just spend a little bit more time before I have to go to the next step.
Yeah, because we had mentioned this talking earlier, was that neither one of us have been a full-time teacher.
Right. No.
So we don't know what that feels like, what that's like to be a full-time teacher with all the pressures on you. But we do know is we have been boys before in the school.
Mm-hmm.
You currently have children in school. So we don't know what it means to be a teacher in that situation. But we're saying, what else could be done?
Right.
What are maybe you can ask yourself, what are some blind spots that you may not be thinking about
Mm-hmm.
when you're just reacting
Mm-hmm.
based on the tools you already have,
Yeah.
and rather than saying, what tools can I gain?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And you think about this again. The article says, additionally, the study found Black teachers were less likely than their white colleagues to issue office discipline referrals for interpersonal defiance and violence, but not for drugs, class skipping, or other reasons. Hispanic teachers were less likely to issue referrals for violence, but not for other reasons. In contrast, Asian teachers were unlikely to use office discipline referrals for any reason. Okay.
Because the other question we have to see is, what are the dangers, or what is the negative consequences of all these referrals being written for Black, especially talking about Black boys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We already know the issue when they get in the justice system,
Yeah.
criminal justice system early,
Facts. Uh-huh.
As teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
may lead many times to them then continuing into adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
And then we know once you've been in prison, what's it called, recidivism?
Yeah, the recidivism rate. Mm-hmm.
Rate is high once you go in.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, you may know more about this than me. Is there a connection between being written up and put in detention so many times as a youth to lead to you possibly being used to always going against authorities?
Yes.
And seeing it as a normal thing?
Yes.
This is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am a person who is a
right.
delinquent.
Right, because if you think yes, I would say yes, because you think about it. If I continuously am being written up from 7th grade to 8th grade to 9th grade, this becomes my normal. This possibly becomes even what I expect. But I want to believe along that journey from 7th to 8th to 9th grade, there's got to be a teacher or teachers who believe in you.
Well, I mean, I know for a lot of us, it's a coach or a extracurricular activity coordinator or something.
Right. But here's a piece I think, I mean, again, even though the article may not have touched on it, that we touch on again, the responsibility is twofold. It's the home and it's the school.
But also too, because I'm asking myself, even in being in a situation where the staff is wildly diverse staff, and the children may not be, may just be mostly Black, Hispanic. Are the teachers and staff talking on racial issues?
Oh, great question.
Are they saying, we always got these stereotypical names, Jamal, right? Jamal and Daquan.
Yeah.
Is the teacher saying, we have issue with Daquan, and let's think about the fact that he's a Black boy? I don't know if that's happening. I don't know if a white teacher may feel comfortable or not.
Yeah, right.
Now they may think it. They may be an ally inside and say, I understand it. Part of this might be because he's a Black boy. There's certain specific issues for him being Black boy that's affecting him.
Yeah.
But do they even feel comfortable vocalizing? Now, when you got two Black teachers together,
oh yeah,
they'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Because
right.
This is us.
Yeah.
So for a non-Black teacher, Asian, Hispanic, white, who may have ally mindset, I guess, that may be something they don't even feel comfortable doing.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because I think like we said earlier in just discussion, if we operate in spaces that look very similar to us outside of teaching, if I'm a white teacher, I may go back to an environment that's predominantly white. So if there's not a place or a space for me to talk to maybe somebody Black about that other than at work, and maybe a Black person at work is like, here we go again. I'm not I'm not the expert. I'm not your expert, but
speaking on behalf of all Black
Black
delegation.
Yeah. So the white teacher might be like, well, who can I go to? I want to come to you, but I live over in this community and nobody really cares. Like, oh, you're doing such great work being a teacher. like, where does she go? Again, not defending. I'm not defending white teachers. I'm not saying here, but again, it's a space and a place. You wonder, like, I really genuinely want to make a difference, but who do I go to?
Yeah.
Where do I get that from? That's why you come to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come to us for
Yes,
just,
it is.
just trying
This
to
is
get
the podcast.
some practical insight. Just just things you trying to unpack to figure out how do I become an ally? How do I be a great teacher for kids? Particularly black boys, because this article kind of talks about that.
Let's talk about what you got going on. I promise you. Bro, I ain't gonna call the police or nothing. But you gotta talk to me, all right? Can't do it like this. Let's just talk, bro.
Before you call the police, what else can be done?
Can't do it like this. Let's just talk, bro.
What else can be done? Before you call the police, what else can be done? You making me stop, Daddy. Okay, Daddy, you're stopping. Daddy, just make some dinner.